Welcome to Second Glance. My name is Hugo. I'm one of the pastors here, and I'm joined by our lead pastor, Matt, and our youth pastor, David. We're in our new podcast space, studio. Really just an old office with some bookshelves. Like, it didn't take much, but a bit of an upgrade for us.
Yeah.
We do this every week. We take a second look, a deeper dive into Sunday's message, an opportunity for us to, unpack a little further, give our community groups opportunities to talk and think and process a little more. But if you're not in a group, this is a resource for you too. And so Acts chapter 16, it was a great Sunday. Pastor Zach got to preach through that. Wonderful Sunday too, because we got to mark the beginning of his his phase 2 of residency. That's a big deal for us, because now is kind of unleashing him to run towards, not physically, but like run towards this goal of planting a church in Alliance.
Right.
Not far from us. We're excited for him. The text really, I think, kind of set the tone for that, because we see some powerful conversions of what the gospel does in a variety of circumstances, and that's what we want to see happen with our neighbors to the north east of us.
Yes.
And so Acts chapter 16 really does highlight the power of the gospel, people believing, particularly people from different backgrounds. We see a merchant named Lydia who was well off. She sold really high-end resources to like the wealthy, the elite. We see
royalty.
The royalty. We see a young girl who was in bondage in more ways than one. She was she possessed?
Possessed and a slave.
Enslaved, yeah. So physical and spiritual
Slavery.
Slavery. And then we see a jailer who was tasked with keeping Paul under wraps. And we'll get to all that. But you see these three people, these three moments that on paper they have nothing in common. They should have nothing in common. And yet by the end of the chapter, they're essentially kind of like they've become a church, a church community, which is wild. So I wanted to start there, because on paper, like, the three of us don't have a lot in common either. None of us grew up in the same town.
Nope.
I was raised on the West Coast. You guys weren't. I like extremely spicy food. You guys don't.
Hugo wears flip-flops in February.
I typically do. I knew we were going to be on camera today, so I spared you the the offense. So that's the lovely part, the beauty of the local church, is that despite our differences, we have the most important thing in common. And seeing how powerful that is, because while I don't share your same background and your stories, how could I? We're very much unique individuals.
Right.
But because of the gospel, like, there's nothing that you could ask us to do, Matt, that we wouldn't do, within reason, of course. But like, that's the beauty of it. And we see that in community. We see that with our church. We see that across the board. And so what comes to mind when you think about just how many differences, different things that would normally keep us separated, and how do we overcome that?
Yeah, the differences of those three stories and encounters, and then how God starts the church. One of the things that sticks out to me about the story is I know this will sound weird, but like how Jesus called the disciples. You're like, here, the creator of the world shows up, puts on flesh, and he's going to start his campaign. And you would think he'd go to to the palace and talk to the kings, talk to the governors, talk to Caesar, that he would recruit the top echelon of society but he goes to tax collectors and fishermen and changes the world. And then you see it as Paul's missionary journeys happen, as he shares the gospel, the least likely candidates, God just brings to the surface, changes their lives in miraculous ways, and plants churches. It's just like God's kingdom is so much different than the world's idea of success or leadership or starting a church, right? Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and that story of God choosing people in the New Testament, that's not a new idea that God is doing.
Right.
This starts all the way back in Genesis, when he chooses Abraham, just this random guy in the middle of nowhere. And then and then in Exodus, he's leading the people out of slavery, and he tells them, hey, I didn't choose you because you were great, because you were powerful, because you were rich in number. I chose you because I love you.
Yeah.
That's why I chose you. So yeah, just a little history context too. This is not a new thing that he's doing.
That's
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
One thing that stood out to me the most when you get to the jailbreak, which wasn't really much of a jailbreak,
Yeah.
but the jailer who thought he had missed his one job, like the job was to keep them in prison.
He had one job.
And the earthquakes, the doors open, and they're all still there, and he's about to end his life. They stop him, and he's so taken by their faith and they're moved that he asks an important question: "What can I do? What must I do to be saved?"
Yeah.
And it's the impact of what happens next. Like by the end of the story, they're in his home. He brings them into his home. He's cleaning their wounds that I'm sure he had a hand in inflicting in the first place. You see this beautiful reversal of this jailer is now their brother. And they are welcomed into his home. And as the story goes, we read that he was baptized right away, and he and all of his family. And so the impact of faith. And I wanted to zoom in on that for a little bit because I think we underestimate just how powerful the gospel really is when we consider what it's going to do across generations.
Yeah.
And so, what comes to mind to you guys when you think about just the impact of like where your spiritual journey started, and where it is now? Any parallels or things that kind of come to mind?
Oh yeah. Like just growing up, I grew up going to church with my family each week and seeing my dad's Bible just shredded. Like he literally wore the cover off of it, wore the pages out. And I forget, he had a sticker somebody put on it, and it was like, I forget, it was something like the slightly distressed look is what the sticker said. And it was on his Bible as it, the cover was worn off of it and stuff, and he had duct tape that held the binding together. And but that just made a huge impact on me. Like that my dad valued the Bible and the scriptures that much, that he would spend so much time in it, that he would wear out. It takes a lot of work to wear out a Bible, man. Like, I studied the Bible for a long time, and none of my Bibles look as bad as my dad's did, He literally had to keep it together. So just the impact that had on me. And I still remember it today. I can still see it today.
Yeah.
But, it's a powerful impact. You see it in the church too, as guys come to church, like a guy shows up to church by himself, I'll meet new people each week, and I'll meet a guy, and the next week his wife will be there. The week after that, the kids will be there.
Yeah.
The week after that, sometimes his brothers will be there.
Yes.
Then mom and dad will show up.
Right.
And next thing you know, they're taking up 2 rows, and you're like, oh, okay, it's neat how that has an impact.
Sure.
Yeah.
And those family relationships that God puts in place, right? And the impact that has.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I grew up in a family that was not Christian whatsoever, and my dad had 4 sisters, so all very just worldly, to be honest. And the Donaldson name, my last name Donaldson, was basically going to die with me, because my dad's 4 sisters married off, changed their names, and we go to these family reunions. There must be like 60 to 70 people there. No one's a Christian. And it all kind of flows from this Donaldson name. And I just remember, like, when I became a Christian, I was like, wow, I'm like literally the only one left in my family, like with the Donaldson name, that is now a Christian. And I feel like such a black sheep. And I just wonder what God is going to do, like with my family line. Now that I am a Christian, I have this desire to give this faith to my children. And like my wife and I just found out that we're pregnant and having a baby boy. And it's like the Donaldson name gets to live on. And just like one more generation. And I just I just have such a desire to give my faith to that boy. And kind of just, I don't know what the phrase is, but just correct or curb this huge black hole in my family in a way of like, there's just so much redemption now that it like my family line, it feels like it's being redeemed and it can be Christian again.
yeah. That's awesome.
That's beautiful. When I think Zach tied it up perfectly, connecting, and obviously not inserting us in the story. That's bad don't do that.
Yeah.
That's not how we read the Bible. The Bible gets to read us. We don't put ourselves in it. But to see the takeaways of how one early church is birthed essentially in this town where there wasn't any faith apparently, but now there is. And obviously what that does for generations to come. And so connecting the dots to us now, thousands of years later, thinking about what we're preparing our hearts to do over the course of this next year as we set our hearts and our minds on Alliance, but also all of Northeast Ohio for that matter, if not beyond, for the future. And so the relationship between the goers and the senders, something we talked about over the last few weeks, and I think will be heavy on our hearts and minds as we continue and as we conclude the book of Acts. But what can a goer do right now who's feeling that nudge of the Holy Spirit? How does a goer decide, and know for certain that they're following after God's call, or they're just doing it because everyone else is doing? How do we discern? Any practical tips for a goer thinking about taking a step?
Oh yeah, the first thing is pray. I mean, this kind of move needs to be soaked in prayer, drowning in prayer. And then the other part of that is just a realistic expectation of what you're walking into. This is mission. This is missional. It will be of great sacrifice. Planting a church is really hard work. Mission View Church is a church plant. And when I moved here, we were meeting in the high school of North Canton High School in the Hoover Hall and setting up a sound system every week. I remember showing up that first Sunday morning. I can't remember what time we showed up. I think it was like 6:30 or 6 o'clock. And there was just a crew of people there lugging massive speakers into Hoover Hall in the auditorium, setting up an entire sound system. I remember Noni Isley dropping one of our subwoofer speakers on her foot. And, so, that kind of sacrifice and work that goes into, if you pray about it and then you take a logical look at it and what the sacrifice is going to be, if you still feel that calling in your heart, man, that's going to be a pretty clear calling that it's God, not you. That, hey, I want to make a sacrifice for God's kingdom. That's usually a Holy Spirit nudge, not a selfish nudge, a selfless nudge.
That's really good. We're almost out of time, but really fast for the senders. So for those of us who will remain, but still want to be a part, any practical advice for how we can approach this next season? Because if all goes to plan, was it next? Can we say it? Next Easter?
Yeah, the hope is next Easter we would launch a church and Alliance. And I would say to those senders, the goers, the first thing I said was pray. And for the senders, I would say first thing is pray. Pray about whether you should be a sender or a goer, but just pray that God would be with them, that God would protect them, that God would be making a way for them to reach the lost in Alliance. But the other part of that is to give. The senders, we have a great opportunity to support this church financially. And in the church plant world, it's a lot of work, but it also costs a lot of money as well to reach the lost and plan those things, to go out into the community and serve and give to the community. So we, as Mission View Church, as we're generous with what God's given us, we'll be able to pour that into the mission of Alliance as well. So that's probably one of the biggest things that we can do as senders.
Yeah, so good. Guys, thanks for your time. We'll be back next week with more.